Hello, welcome to Glen Meditation. Um, this is a new series I'm starting on the meditation thing. Is about travel and my adventures I've had around the world. And I think travel is really important part of waking up process. It gets you into other cultures, and when you're in other cultures, you can sort of look back at your conditioning, and you can see that a lot of the ways that you are is just come from your own society. And if you grow up in Canada, you'll have Canada programming, most likely. If you grow up in India, you'll have Indian programming and the different countries. And then you just think that's the way you are. But when you get out and travel, you start to compare the programs, and you start to see that behind those programs, there's a person there, that's yourself. And so travel is really good for kind of meditation and waking up. This story is my first day in India. I went from Australia, and I was, I think, in my early 30s. And when I got off the plane, it was pretty freaky. We landed in Madras, and I shouldn't say we landed, I was by myself. And as soon as I got off the plane, I got my luggage and I started to walk outside, and it was just mayhem. There was people shouting. It was just more chaos and noise than I ever seen in my life. And I was quite an experienced traveler, and even for me, I was a bit freaked out. Anyhow, there was this girl there. She was about 18 years old, and she was on her first trip around the world. And she was just frozen on the spot. Like, she was freaked out. So she had cigarettes, so I offered her one of her cigarettes, and I had one as well, and we started talking. And she was on a solo trip around the world, and she had just been to Bali. That's it. She was by herself, and she had just been to Bali. And if you go to Bali, that's a pretty easy place to travel to, because you're just going to meet basically other backpackers and younger people and people from Australia and New Zealand, Canada and England and stuff, and you sort of fit in. But India is like another step up in terms of culture shock, and this person was just freaking out on the spot, which kind of took a lot of pressure off me, because I was a bit freaked out by, like, I didn't even know my first steps, like what do? You go out, and how to find a hotel and anything. I usually just kind of rock up on a trip without much plans, kind of see what happens. But this was freaky. So anyhow, she was a bit scared and stuff. So I found a German lady who was just come off the flight that I'd been on, and we all agreed the three of us would go and get a hotel room. Hotel rooms, actually, not all together, but separate in the same hotel, so that this Canadian girl would feel sort of calm. By the morning, she was calmer, and she wanted to come spend some time. I was off to a mountain. In those days, I was doing a lot of meditation, so I was going to the Ramana Maharshi Center, which is about 3.5 hour drive from Madras in the mountains. And so this girl sort of calmed down enough by that time that she wanted to come out and just chill out in the mountain for 3 or 4 days and get accustomed to India. So we went and got out. The first thing you do is you get in one of those auto rickshaws, and that's a freaking experience, because the traffic is just complete chaos, and you really realize what surrender means is just to let go of all your control, because when you're on one of those taxis, it's like really freaky. So anyhow, we got on a bus, and we went up to the mountain, and this girl relaxed enough in 3 or 4 days that she was able to take off to Goa by herself on a bus and feel comfortable. She'd sort of accustomed to India, and then she went more back to the backpackers world. And so that I found the first thing about India is just the intensity. You come from other cultures, and you can sort of find some differences, but right as soon as you get off the plane, the smells, the sights, the sounds of India hit you right away, and you're definitely not in a Western country, and you also know that you're not in control. So India is complete chaos, and it was an interesting first few days in India and stuff, and so that's today's story, the first time ever in India and experiences.